there's no in-game mechanic that allows you to address that. You're really at the mercy of the weather. Now, a lot of the farmers I watch on YouTube, there's a small operation which is primarily beef, and they're at the mercy of the weather. No. Speed on the harvest, well actually, okay. How does maintenance work? Harvester speed state affects the yield. The header state affects the speed you're harvesting. So, don't think I could go faster with this, but I may be wrong. Helianthus headers are under here. There we go. Helianthus header has a maximum speed of 9 miles an hour. So no, there's no faster to go. But as the header state degrades, you will notice a drop off in speed. I did notice that very early on. I did a contract on Ravensport, on one of the bigger fields for sugar beets, which not really a big deal. I borrowed the equipment. The equipment was delivered pristine, and in the time it took me to do that, I actually got the equipment down to about 20% maintenance level, and we were harvesting at 2 miles an hour. And so to get the job completed quickly, I had to take the harvester down to the store and fix it, because at that time there weren't any of the mod sort of repair points or trailers or trucks that you could bring onto the field and just fix what was there. So I did feel that was a problem with doing contracts. One of the reasons why I tend to work seasons, because equipment maintenance is far less harsh than it is in base game. But, base game, you're almost maintaining your vehicles daily if you've been using them a lot. With this, we can typically get 6 months, maybe 3 months on a really heavy use piece of equipment. But something like a harvester, we service it once a year, and it's fine. But through tests that various players have done, I've watched Farmer Cop, I've watched a couple of other guys. The maintenance levels are header affects yield. Header affects speed. Harvester affects yield. Tractors obviously a little bit different because they don't do that sort of thing. Weights, I've got no idea. If you don't maintain a weight, it doesn't get lighter or less effective, so I don't know why that's included. Grain cart's the same. It would kind of make sense if the hydraulic mechanism failed and it didn't tip. Sort of, I've got to go and fix the cart because the hydraulics have failed or something like that. But I think as a whole, the maintenance aspect could use a little bit of work. But I don't know how we... the problem is, in speaking as my profession, it's coming up with a gameplay aspect which is acceptable. So the whole headers go slower. Okay, fine, I can understand that. It's probably not a real life thing, but In fact, the header failure is probably the wrong way round. The harvester should slow down if it needs maintenance. The header should yield less if it needs maintenance. But again, you're looking at when you're harvesting, my harvester is capable of, 20 miles an hour? Yeah, 20 miles an hour tops. The limit is the header that is currently turned on. So, since game-wise the header controls the speed I can harvest, it kind of makes sense that a poor condition header is going to slow down, create more of a limit on my harvesting speed. Although, real world-wise, it doesn't really make sense. Okay, see how much we can actually get off here. I'm kind of surprised. Well, there we go. I think I can move that out. I'll drive up to the top. Oh, right about there. Okay. That's me rolling, and the brake is on. Good. So that's a good amount of field done, I think. But yeah, obviously watching YouTube farmers, you get an idea of what they go through. And we are running on a bare minimum of equipment. If our harvester failed, it's off. Our harvest stops until we can fix it. If the truck fails, I've got options because I've got tractors with grain carts, and if that tractor fails, I've got another tractor. So it's not as much of a disaster as losing a critical piece of equipment is. If the telehandler fails, I've still got a tractor with a front loader that can stand in until I can get the telehandler fixed. Done. But we're also, for the most part, not leasing anything either. We own all of our equipment. Excuse me. Tea's getting cold, so I figured I'd finish that off before I get super cold. Alright, so what we're going to do here, we'll unload this, and then I'll turn the truck around up the field a bit. Because the harvester's switched off, so technically I wouldn't be able to do this. Awesome. Okay, and the handbrake is on. So we've also got that field over there to do. And so let's cut through 184, 3, 2, 1, 0. and line it up and go. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I've been watching this week farm sim related. Notice there's a new DLC on Train Sim World for an American Utah area, I think, freight line, but really not been into much of Train Sim 2 or Train Sim World lately. Sort of something I'll get out and play once in a while. Yield on these fields, well, it's the soil on these fields that are bad, which is why the yield isn't the greatest. I don't know it's really much to complain about. I mean, we are getting a fairly good yield anyway. Sorry, no, not that we're getting a really good yield anyway. We are getting a goodly income from what we have, so it's not bad. And yeah, there's nothing you can do about the soil, so it is what it is. But yeah, on the matter of sort of moisture in the crops, you've got Zach the Millennial Farmer, and I don't know, he doesn't have anything outside of irrigation. There's nothing that he applies water to the crops. There's another YouTube channel I occasionally watch called Laura's Farms, or Laura Farms. Now, her dad's farm has the big pivots, so if there's a water shortage, they can turn the pivots on and moisten the crops that way, stop the crops drying out. But that's a big, those are two big operations with different solutions to the problem. Ignore it, or take it into your own hands. But obviously pivots need a lot of maintenance, and they cost money to run, because you have to pay for the water unless you're collecting it from somewhere. Meanwhile, on the home front, our peas died off, just because apparently they've got some form of disease. So we were wondering whether they were being overwatered or underwatered, but they're pretty much dead regardless of what we try. So. My philosophy is I try to avoid using loans, and that's just my own personal philosophy. However, if I decide to take out a loan, it's for something that will immediately return money. So I'm not going to take out a loan to buy I'm not going to take out a loan to upgrade this harvester, for example. It would be nice to have a bigger harvester, but this harvester does the job. So it's not like I need to go out and buy a $400,000 Lexion. Son of a gun. Trees, you're a pain. Similarly, I'm not going to buy a tractor. Now, the thing is I don't have a potato harvester, but I have potatoes in the ground. So I would consider obviously buying a potato or taking out a loan for the least amount I could get away with, and buying sufficient potato harvesting equipment just to get the job done. But that's so I can get the potatoes out the ground, and I know the income from the potatoes is going to pay the loan almost immediately. I'll borrow money to buy land, but you can sell the land and pay off the loan. You don't lose money on that. If you buy a new harvester on a loan and then decide that was a bad move and sell the harvester, you're not going to make the money back to pay off the loan. So that's a bad thing. If you want to use precision farming on a map, you do not need the farming agency version of the map. With precision farming, you have basically the soil map. So if we pull this up and go to the soil map, zoom out, you can see the salty clay. That's why we have such poor yield here, because that is really bad soil. You've got the loam, which is the best yield, and then you've got sandy loam and loamy sand. Now, if the map maker has made it precision farming ready, then they will have created this map, or the soil map for their map, and hopefully it'll be sensible, so you'll get loamy sand along a riverbank or whatever, the sandy loam a little bit away from that. You could end up in an area where it's just mostly silty clay, like where my parents live, and is bad for growing anything. But that can be included by the map maker. So some map makers have taken the time to create a soil map and make it precision farming ready. Others didn't, and in those cases Giants created a default sort of random map, and you're going to have to accept what that map looks like. And it may make no sense for the farm for the farm map that you're playing on. Obviously, since Giants did Estancia Lapacho, what was it? Ravensport, Felsbrunn, and the Swiss map that I can't remember what it's called, Erlengrat. Those have Giants designed soil maps. They are effectively, the soil map is designed for the look of where you're at. But everybody, oh, we're full. I wasn't paying attention. Where's my truck? But there is a default map included in precision farming, which, if the map you're playing on doesn't include its own soil map, the default precision farming map will be selected. Now, what to remember is that once you start using precision farming, your soil map is set. So, for example, let's say you're using Oxygen David's version of Oakfield Farm, and he didn't include a soil map. You're going to end up, the first time you start playing with precision farming, it's going to say there isn't one included with the map, so I'll use the default map provided by Giants in precision farming. Now, if Oxygen David took the time out to actually create his own soil map for Oakfield Farm and created a version of Oakfield Farm with a soil map, you're not going to use it, because once the soil map has been loaded into your game save from whatever source that it came from, you're done. So, and I don't actually know if the farming agency added a soil map to this, or whether I'm using the Giant's default. I'd have to go out and find a really old map and load it in, buy all the fields, do the precision farming soil analysis thing, and then compare that soil map to this one to be able to determine, am I using the Giant's default, or is there actually a proper farming agency designed soil map for this this game map. Now, I did have some communication with them when precision farming first came out. I did put a message out on their forums and said, you know, are you planning to add precision farming soil maps to your maps? And they said at the time there were a lot of issues with precision farming, so they weren't planning to add soil maps until those issues had been taken care of by Giants. Then they shut their website down, and so I haven't really got back to them and said, hey, is there any plan to? But since I've already started this, I'm using whatever soil map defaults on this map, which I think is the Giants one. But I could be wrong. Now, hang on. You mean this field over here is not registering as grass now? That could be as much as you need to select the grass thing. This is definitely grass. The difference is now is I turned that, select grass. Fruit types 2, there we go. I actually ploughed this up and replanted it. So it's a field and it has grass in it. This is a field that has grass in it. This is a field that has grass in it. And this is a field that has grass in it, I'm pretty sure. So because this was a just map grass, what I call a pasture, on the bottom right of the screen. Oh, yes, because it's not a field. Let me wander over there. Boop. Visit. So this bit of the field I haven't done anything with, so it doesn't register. It doesn't tell me it's grass. Now I'm getting into the point where this is the part of the field where I ploughed it and planted grass. So it now tells me field information is owned by me, it's grass, it's germinated, and what have you. But as soon as I walk across that, it goes away. Because this is not, and it comes back up because I'm looking at that, I think. But basically this is just map grass. This is the same sort of grass as, you know, this area here is grass. I can mow it, I can bale it, but it doesn't register as grass because it's not a ploughed field. As soon as you plough the field up, you can still mow the grass there. Yeah, I mean, before I bothered ploughing the pasture behind the cowshed, I would come out here with a mower and I would mow this field. But you've got no control over the yield. It yields what it yields because it's just, you know, what I call grass pasture or map grass. You can't fertilise it, you can't spray it for weeds, all you can do is just cut it. So I would cut it, I'd stick it in the sheep pen, and then if we look in here, there's a bunch of grass that came from this field. So Yes, you can. I mean, you can cut the grass verges along the side of the rows, roads. Sorry, and yeah, you can bale that up and sell it or whatever. But it doesn't. It yields fair. There's no yield bonuses. There's no yield penalties. But to gain the benefits of being able to fertilise it and weed it and stuff, you have to plough it up and replant it as grass. Now I can't remember if the autofill of the sheep trough is a function of the farming agency version of the map, or whether it's actually part of Oxygen David's version of the map. But I have the impression that you need to have a ploughed field of grass in order for the animal trough to fill up, if that functionality is enabled. Will sheep produce wool even if they are fed hay instead of grass? They will produce wool if you're playing with seasons during the months of spring only, and it doesn't matter what you feed them so long as it's food that they accept. They'll produce wool. So for the most part, back when I was on Oxygen David's version of this map, I was feeding them predominantly hay because hay doesn't decay, and I was playing with seasons. So obviously the best thing you can do is store up the hay in a barn for the winter, and since I'm producing hay, that's what I normally fed them. But very occasionally I'd go out, I'd cut the grass with a single mower and pick it up in a loading wagon and just drop that, what I had left over into the sheep trough. And the sheep are still happy enough eating grass. It's a valid food source. It's just that with seasons running, you can't store grass long term. It decays in a couple of days. So your best bet is to take the time to produce the hay, because the hay is always going to be available once you've produced it until it's all gone. But yeah, with seasons, they don't produce wool during the summer or winter or fall, but they produce babies during the winter and fall, so that's a good thing. Well, I don't know if they produce babies during fall. Basically, my sheep are now pregnant,